Social media, it's the future for the new generation. I started on Instagram 5 years ago. My career has blown up so big, so fast. It's crazy.
He was a bit of a loner, but once social media came around, Cameron came out of his shell.
I think back and I'm like, I've come a long way.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, I'm learning from trial and error. MagCon stands for Meet and Greet Convention. Having that one-on-one connection with my fans, it's awesome. But when something goes wrong, it falls on my company.
We've got serious safety problems.
You're telling me they stopped the show? Life on the road, as far as you take its toll.
We snugged this girl on the bus.
Derek is blowing everything way out of proportion.
This is not how we do it.
I'm sorry. This tour has been filled with drama.
He said snacks.
It's not recorded. There's definitely pressure for me to keep everyone happy. The fans don't really know what's really going on.
Real deal. Dude, thank you so much for being here and taking time to
Thanks
come hang out with us. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
I know getting a Netflix series was a long-time goal of yours. It was a big deal, and it's a great one. Why was Netflix so important? Where did the idea come from? Tell us a little bit about this show.
So the reason why I wanted, well, I'll tell you where it came from. I feel like for me, as far as being an entrepreneur and kind of trying to explain to people what the power of social media was, when I would talk to some of these older CEOs, I kind of ran into the problem of them not understanding social media, or them not even knowing what it is. And 2 years ago, I wrote in my notebook that I wanted this show because I wanted to educate them and show them the call to action and the power of social media and what was going on and how the millennials are building ancillary businesses behind it. As far as Netflix, I chose Netflix because it's a rising platform. It's becoming a platform itself, and I feel like my TV came with a Netflix button, and that's the future. And I kind of wanted to be ahead of the curve. So
I definitely think if there's one thing that you've always been, it's kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. Are you ever sort of surprised at how far you've had to go to show these executives and show people this is a real thing? Like, you had to shut down Milan at one point to prove that this is a real thing, right? Is that ever...
I don't know. I kind of just roll with it. I mean, I was surprised by how many people showed up at Milan. That was my first time in Milan. It was Calvin Klein. It was for the Calvin Klein show. It was my first fashion show. And, like, the fact that many people showed up, I was like...
crazy.
Yeah, flabbergasted.
I apologize in advance for asking about this particular moment because you've talked about it in almost every interview, but we're in New York. I got to ask about it. And so one more time, if you could tell the story, for those that haven't heard it before, about that first meet and greet you ever did, that kind of moment where you were like, oh, man, this is a thing. Like, walk through.
I did it, so I was staying at the Hudson Hotel.
Right.
And what's the mall right next to it? What is that called? The Time Warner Mall? Time Warner, yeah. So I had to meet up there, right? This is like 3 years ago. And, didn't know, I was on a business meeting. My mom let me go out. I just turned 18. I was meeting with Judy McGrath, who was the ex-CEO of Viacom. And she started this thing called Astronauts Wanted. I met her, whatever. I decided to have a meetup in New York. My best friend was always like, yo, have a meetup. And I was always scared because I didn't want to be that guy that had a meetup and, like, no one showed up, right? So I was like, whatever, I did it. And I remember I walked through the side entrance and I walked out the front. And there were 1,000 girls just waiting for me, and they all kind of like turned towards me, and I looked at them and they were like all looking at me, and I was kind of like, and like before I knew it, they were all running after me, like about to like kind of corral me, you know?
What goes through your mind in that moment as 1,000 random girls are hurtling towards you at an uncontrollable pace?
I was scared. Yeah. I was scared.
It's
scary.
scary.
I'm not the biggest guy, you know, and I was a lot smaller back then. You know, I've grown a little bit, but they ran towards me, and I remember I was like, what is going on? I remember looking over to my side, and there's this huge dude, right? Huge guy, one of the biggest guys I've ever seen in my life. And he pulled out an undercover cop badge, and he was like, yo, follow me, right? So I grab his hand, and as we're running, we're trying to make our way down to the subway. And, like, as we're running, like, there's so many girls pulling on us. They end up pulling us apart, and he had to, like, fight his way back. He got me. We went down to the subway. I didn't even pay. I just hopped over the thing, right? Because I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So we hop over, and we pull, like, a little juke move. We go back up. And then as we're running around, one of the, there are like a bunch of guys in like black suits with like little earpieces in. And they see me running, right? They see an undercover cop running behind me, and then a bunch of girls just screaming. So they had no clue what was going on, and they ended up grabbing me and throwing me against the wall. And I was like, yo, like, I'm like 18, and I'm like, I know my rights, blah, blah, you can't do this.
Right.
Blah. I was just so, like, annoyed.
You're being chased at this point. You're being chased. You're being chased by 1,000 girls.
Yeah, but
what could you possibly be guilty of that you're being chased by 1,000 girls?
So they didn't know what was going on.
They just
and
saw
the president was staying at that hotel.
Got it.
So they were like, what's going on? There's me running, an undercover cop chasing me, and a bunch of people screaming that had no clue. So he ended up catching up and letting me go, but I learned two things. If I was going to do this, it needed to be organized, and I probably needed a security guard.
And also not to do it anywhere near the president.
Yeah. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, well, you never know. Thank you for sharing that story. Like I said, I know you've had to tell it a bunch, but I think it's a crazy story. And again, we're here in New York. It'd be crazy not to ask about it. One of the big things that I've seen you talking a lot about is not only convincing these executives of the power of social media, but sort of kind of transitioning from social to traditional media and working towards that other side of the fence almost, which is a really difficult thing, I think, to do. What's crazy is, like, people have done it for years. You've had musicians that have gone to TV and film. You've had film that have gone to TV, all this sort of stuff. Do you think the gap for you now, going from traditional, or going rather from social to traditional, do you think that's a harder gap to cross than maybe in years past?
I think everyone has their trials. Back in the day, it was only, if you want to be on the cover of Vogue, you had to be like a really big model, and now it's like you have actors, you have celebrities on the cover, and I feel like this is a new space. We're on the forefronts of it, so I think it's kind of expected that we have to kind of educate people and fight for it, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But I don't think it's been like too crazy.
Right. When did you, because I know you started off, you wanted to be a model. When did you flip in your head that, like, oh, I can be a model, but I can be all these other things too? Like, when did that start coming into your head?
I didn't want to. I try not to be such a serious guy when I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm really goofy and stuff like that. So I feel like I didn't want to be typecast as some serious guy, some serious model. So I started posting funny videos because, like, I feel like that's just more of me.
Yeah.
Instead of being like the shirtless, like,
Yeah, you weren't just the shirtless dude with the. You were also, there was a personality, there was a story there. You were telling stories, you were telling jokes, you were pulling pranks, you were doing all these different things.
Yeah.
A lot of that, I think, comes across in the show too. In this like sort of transitional moment and sort of bridging these two worlds, where do you see what kind of role your fans kind of play? They're super passionate. They turn out by the thousands globally. Is it tough to sort of navigate? Are you worried about alienating certain fans? Are they helping you move forward? How's that?
It's been in weird transitions where it's like I started off being really close to my fans, right? And like I really built like a very strong connection. I used to DM a lot of them and really get back to them very quickly. And now I feel like over time I've gotten more busy and it's harder for me to do that, but I still try to maintain that relationship and maintain that connection and try and go out of my way to do things like that. And I still do. It's just a lot harder. And then it's a lot harder for people to notice that I do that too, because so many people like, oh, you're not messaging back or you're not tweeting back. And it's like, I do, but there's just so many of them. They've played a pivotal part in everything that I do. They're the reason that I have Chasing Cameron. They're the reason that I have everything, really. And it's very humbling. Like, you saw the clip in Milan, the fact that many people want to come say, not even meet me, just to come see me and come say hi. It's incredible.
It really is incredible, and I think you do a great job in this show of sort of showing that other side of, like, it's pretty admirable how hard you do work to get to as many as you can, but the reality is you're one dude and there's millions of people all over the world that are trying to, like, get close, and in physical instances it's like thousands upon thousands at a time, and you're doing the best that you can, you're working at it. A little bit of context, I've always been personally curious, when someone has a Twitter account that is as large as yours, or an Instagram account, what do your notifications even look like at that point? Like, are they even useless? Yeah, you have to turn them off, because what else could you possibly do?
I wouldn't be able to do anything.
You wouldn't be able to do anything?
No, my phone would
just be a constant
I've tried it.
device.
I've turned them on once, and it just like my phone crashed.
Oh my god! And how do you even choose? You just go in and just add random, just whatever I can. I got 20 minutes. I'm waiting for a flight. Let me respond to 20 people,
Yeah,
and then
it's just random.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like when I'm scrolling through, I'll recognize a fan that I've known, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder how they're doing, and I kind of like message them too. But it's really just random.
What's funny to me about your fan base and sort of the cultural phenomenon that you're a part of is, like, we've kind of seen it before in terms of, like, Elvis had fans that showed up and screamed and passed out. The Beatles, yes, I'm putting you on this list. The Beatles had fans
That's an honor.
that showed up and passed out. This sort of reaction has existed, but it never ceases to scare the hell out of older people when they see it. And I think you kind of confronted some of that fear at your show. I think it was in France, right, where there was a serious situation going on, and your tour management was like, "We got to shut it down." And you were like,
Paris.
"Yeah, Paris, that's the one." And you were like, "I can talk to them. I can make this work." And you kind of diffused the situation and turn it around. You guys all had a good time. What is the biggest misconception you think about your fans, that something that you get that nobody else seems to understand, that you can kind of speak to?
I feel like a lot of times when I speak to security guards and people that kind of run day to day, they don't really expect that type of fandemonium or anything like that. And I've seen it. You know, my very first meet and greet, I got mauled myself, so I've learned how to control, or at least try to control those situations and try and do what's best for my fans. Because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of people are thinking about a million different other things as far as like the venue. What's the venue going to think? Like, how's that going to look on them? I'm more so thinking just about the fans and their safety. I don't know.
No, for sure. Well, your fans, they definitely have your back, and they definitely sent a really clear message most recently before. So I want to talk some more about the show, and I want to get into some of the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
but before we jump into that, the one last thing I want to bring up, because I would be remiss to not mention it, is you recently won Teen Choice 2016 Choice Social Media King. I'll pause for applause.
Oh,
Now,
thank you.
that's a cool award, but I think even cooler than the award is the context within which you won it. I wrote down the other nominees. You beat out LeBron James, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for this award, which you got to talk about legitimizing the craft, man, and talk about what you do. That's a huge feather in the cap. How did that feel to win that, to get that from your fans? And has that made those conversations easier for you when you go to those executives and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. The first time I went to a Teen Choice, I won Choice Viner, which was awesome. The next time I won Choice Male Web Star, and then Viner. And this last year, I kind of wanted to, thankfully I got put in that, I was a nominee in that category, and I kind of just really focused on that because I feel like not only for me, but for the entire social media industry, like, I feel like it helped validate everyone in that space as far as someone coming from Instagram or YouTube or Vine or whatever you want to call it, and beating out these people in the category. I think it definitely did a lot of justice for them, and that's kind of what this show is about, is helping validate everyone in the space and not just me.
So let's get into this show. Let's talk about some characters. I want to talk about Taylor for a second. I want to go in if I can. Taylor seems like a great guy.
He's my favorite.
He is a lot of fun to watch, but he
Yeah.
does kind of seem like he was put there as sort of this avatar of like anything that you kind of like think you know about a social media star. This guy's gonna both confirm and buck that trend at the same time. Like he
is the perfect antagonist.
Yes, exactly.
Show.
He
Yeah.
is the perfect antagonist
He's gold.
for the show.
He's gold.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
You guys are still keep in touch, of course. You still,
Yeah. I was just talking
You guys
to
have
him.
been together since you were kids.
Well, I flew out yesterday, but I was hanging out with him the day before.
Is he getting his per diem these days?
Yeah, he gets his. The funny thing is, like, he's sitting here complaining about per diem. It's like $100.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a 7-bedroom house, 10 cars, and stuff. It's funny. He's just, he likes to have everything his way, and he says anything to get it, and it's all right. It's cool, but I feel like I'm one of the people in his life that tells it how it is, and I just don't care what he says.
For sure. Well, one of the great things about the show, because I was saying this back in the green room, I think it's safe to say, I don't think I'm being rude if I'm a 30-year-old married dude with bills and stuff. I am not your core demographic, right? That's a safe assumption to make, that you look at those fans showing up. I'm not typically...
I wouldn't guess you to be...
Exactly, right?
Man, no.
But, hand to God, guys, this show, I was on the edge of my freaking seat watching it because there is so many interesting stories. I mean, just the logistics alone of you guys putting together the world tour, it coming together and then falling apart and you having to rebuild it. The drama with freaking Taylor and his per diem. There's a lot going on in the show. But then also there's a vulnerability. You guys like show the human side and like the repercussions of all this, of dealing with these thousands of fans and all these different things that happen. Was there ever a hesitation to show all of that in this show, or was that kind of the point?
That was the point. I think everything that people from social media curate what they put on. So everything until this day I've chosen to put on, unless it was like someone taking a video of me and I didn't know, right? So everything was curated, and I feel like for this, it gave people an insight on what social media is actually about. It's not just about posting a video and then it's done. Like, there's a lot of things that go behind it. There's a lot of logistics. There's like deals, things like that. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't take that into consideration. But it's just educating. It's not their fault. They don't understand it. And then the other thing is, like, as far as hesitation, I don't tend to cuss.
Yeah.
My mom's gonna kill me, but like I don't like cuss in like any of my tweets or any of my videos. But like I have the biggest potty mouth. Like,
you can cuss
I
here.
cuss a lot in the show.
Yeah.
But it's like my mom got so mad.
That's what she was upset about.
That's probably one of my biggest regrets is that, and something I need to work on is cussing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What has, cussing aside, what has the fan response been? Because there's a moment. I think it's shortly after you have one of like your first panic attacks and you miss a show, and they told the fans that you were sick, right? And then there's some fans on camera that are like crying, and they're like, "It's our fault. We made him sick. We're sorry." Like,
yeah, no, it's not their fault.
no, it's not their fault. Has there been a response to this show of like the fans seeing like, "Oh man, I didn't know we were doing that." Like, has there been a shift in the interactions?
It's not their fault. I think it's a lot of other things built up, you know, stress and just me going on. And I'm very hard on myself, and I like to keep going, right? I never take a break.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was just built up, and it was my fault. It was poor, not like a poor diet, but like a poor self-awareness, right?
Not only that, you have to acknowledge that you were under a tremendous amount of stress because you're not only just performing the show, as you bring up many times, you're playing the role of peacekeeper a lot in this thing, man. As these different relationships are breaking down, you're trying to put them back together. You're trying to talk to Taylor about his freaking per diem. You're trying to talk about the tour manager, all this stuff, and you're putting a lot on your own shoulders. That takes a toll after a amount of time. You couple that with diet and all that stuff. You mentioned that. I got to bring something up. You being a famously shirtless dude and watching 10 episodes of this show, I didn't see your ass work out once. What are you? How are you? What is? Should we just get to be mad because this just happens, or like tell us you're working out? Something's going on. There's a diet you got to stick to. I'm watching you eating cheeseburgers, living on a bus. I'm like, this is not fair. How does this happen? So what's going on? Is there footage you cut out?
I don't know. I don't work out. No one ever believes me. I need to start.
You're not doing.
To a point, my agent at IMG was like, "Yo, this dude, you really have to start working out," because I'm like completely losing my six pack and stuff like that. But like,
you're not like 10 crunches. Give me something. You're not doing anything.
Nah.
Just wait. Just wait.
I guess I gotta thank my dad. I don't know, jeans. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah, man. Hey, man. Good on you. God bless. I'm gonna ask you one more thing. We're gonna turn it over.
You work out?
I mean, tirelessly, and it has yielded zero results. I mean,
Oh my God.
and I'm not alone in that, right? Or how many people are working their asses off, and it's just not getting.
But I know
I
know people that go to the gym and they work out, but they don't actually push themselves. When I go work out, like I really push myself. Like Aaron's the type, like if he goes by himself, that dude just does not push himself. And like Bryant, my other friend Bryant, he's a photographer. I've lived with him. He will not work out with me because I will push him until he's like, I can't do it. I'm like, yeah, you can. I'll like scream at him, and he's like, no, I can't. But it's like, you really have to push yourself.
I will say there is something to that. When I first started working out, I had a buddy of mine. His name's Khalil. If you're out there watching, hey buddy. And he,
What's up, Khalil?
See that? You got a shout out. He helped me. Like there's a chemistry to two people doing it together, pushing each other and making yourself go further.
Right.
You try your best.
I've always worked out with my best friend Chris. So
You have
like,
to.
You have to. Yeah, and it's like we're very competitive. So.
All right. One last question, then we'll do audience Q&A. We've talked a lot about this show. It's fantastic. We talked about all the great things you've done. What do you work on now? What can we look forward to? It's kind of a hackneyed question, but as an interviewer, I have to ask it. What's next? Tell me. Come on.
Well, I'm super excited that this season came out. Hopefully we get greenlit for a second season. Crossing my fingers. I'm super stoked for that if it happens. As far as in the fashion world, I'm going to be walking shows come 2017, which is really exciting. Going from like going to my first shows and sitting front row to now like walking in shows.
It's crazy, man.
I'm working on a couple things musically, but I'm really taking my time and like developing myself and learning about myself as an artist. And just, I just started my own tech fund, things like that. I'm just all over the place.
Dude, you do everything. Has anyone ever approached you with an idea and you're like, nah, I'm good? Because it sounds like the tech
Depends
fund.
on what the idea is.
Yeah, I know, but like the tech fund, where did that even come from? What is that? What are you working on?
I'm very focused on like the long-term goal, and I think me being 22 years old, it would be smart for me to kind of start investing my money and investing other people's money. But I feel like I just want to set myself up for the future, and I feel like that's how people my age should think. It's all about the long-term goal and not the short term. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in the scene, and that's not really where I want to be.
For real. Well, I gotta tell you, I've done a bunch of these here. Talked to a lot of different stars, web, otherwise, and you definitely have. I get the impression you have a very good head on your shoulders, man. Planning for long term. You talk a lot about how you're very aware that it could go away any minute. I got a feeling that you're gonna be around for a while. We're gonna be seeing you for a while. We're gonna be seeing great things.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So the show, Chasing Cameras, on Netflix right now. You guys gotta check it out. Let's go ahead and take some questions from the audience. Our first one is there.
Hey Cameron,
Let's go.
My question for you is, in the show you see like a lot of conflicts between like Taylor and Bart. How did you like manage to keep going on and keep pursuing forward? Because that must have been like a lot of draining on you as a person, you know, when you're on that tour.
I grew up with two girls, so my mom and my sister. My sister's 4 years older, so it was like they were very hard on me, and they're very stubborn, and they like to argue with me and stuff like that. So I feel like Taylor and Bart were kind of like wimpy compared to that. No, I'm just kidding. But like, no, Taylor's a handful for sure. But
that is an understatement of the century. But go on.
I think just keeping my concentration and knowing, and keeping them aware of the long-term goal, as far as like just do what I say, and like just do your job, do what you're supposed to do, and I'm gonna lead you guys to like the right area, because I have a vision, and I feel like a lot of them don't understand the vision, or they don't see it. But it's like if they just would go along with it and just see it, then you'll see it start to come to
fruition. Yeah, no, you know.
Yeah, so and now Taylor's like, yo, thank you so much. Like, the dude's a rock star, to be honest. Taylor's just like a rocker. He likes to do whatever he wants, and that's cool. Like, I'm giving him that platform to do whatever he wants, and I feel like it's for me to handle all that pressure. I have to be very patient. I have to be very patient, especially with Taylor. As far as Bart, I have to be very patient too.
Well, one of my favorite moments with you and Taylor is really early on, and the dude's going on about his per diem, and you're like, dude, you own part of this company. Like, why are you worried about this? Like,
well, it's not even that. It's just the fact that he gets confused. A lot of people are in his head, and he likes to. He tries to be that guy that's like that takes care of everyone. So when he sees a problem, he tries to be like that guy to fix it, but not fix it. He likes to be that guy to argue for them, and it kind of like comes at me, and then I get.
I think you got to remember, like, a lot of that, especially once you find out his background, it's like it all comes from a good place. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, you see his background, and then you start to feel for him. You're like, oh, that's why he's
exactly.
Like that. And it's just about working on it. He's a good person. I love Taylor. I'm not. We're cool. We're best friends. We're brothers. It's like same thing with Bart too. It's just I feel like the best friends too that I've had in my life are people that tell me things straight up and tell me how it is, and they don't BS me.
Next question is going to be there.
Hi, thank you for being here. So my question for you is, you've obviously had the opportunity to do so much with your social media following and everything, but what do you think your life would have been like if you hadn't, gotten so famous? What maybe you would be doing instead?
Well, I used to work, my first job was at Apostle, and I got that job it was a seasonal, I got that job with my best friend at the time. And they ended up firing me and keeping him. And then I went across the street to Forever 21, and I started working there for a long time. And then as I started doing MagCon, I started missing work, and then I stopped like going completely. But I feel like I'd be over in Silicon Valley, to be honest, like doing tech and kind of just being an entrepreneur. That's really what I'm about. Because I dropped out of college before I even was really doing this stuff, and it was really solidified in the area. Like we're the frontier, so we're building as we go. But when I dropped out, I just felt like college wasn't for me. But I would probably be like building apps or something like that.
How long did you work in retail for? You said you were at Forever 21 for a little bit.
I was there for like a year.
Year? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, working retail does something to you.
Oh yeah, and Forever 21 sucks. People are, girls. They're so messy. Like girls will come. I had 4 rooms. So I had the men's room, right? I had the main room when you first walk in, the other main room, right? Those are 2 girls. And then I had the shoe room. And the shoes, I don't know if you guys have been to Forever 21, the shoe room is always like just completely destroyed.
It is a disaster.
And it's like I had to greet everyone, I had to give them bags, I had to say bye to everyone, I had to make sure that all those rooms were like perfectly like good and everything like that. I hated it.
Yeah, anyone that hasn't worked retail hears that and they're like, well, it doesn't sound that bad. And it's
Oh,
like, you do it for 4.5
People will drop clothes right in front of you and look at you,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like, oh, you're gonna pick it up, and they'll just walk away, and it's like,
Yeah. So that's your job, apparently. Well,
Yeah,
it is.
it is,
On
but-
paper, but still, you don't have to be a dick about it. All right, next question. Is it our last one or no?
We're going to take our final question from an online viewer. So Francesca wants to know, which country do you think has the craziest fans?
You've been all over the
I
world,
feel
man.
like anywhere I go international, it's pretty intense. I've never been to. I know I'm waiting to go to Brazil and kind of explore that whole area, and I've heard those fans are pretty crazy. But the craziest fans, just in general, are probably the fans in Milan. They're really exciting, and they're really like.
Yeah.
They're really
Is,
cool.
one of the things I wanted to ask you as I was watching, I was looking for, is there a tangible difference between the like, can you feel the difference between a crowd in the States versus a crowd overseas or someplace else, or is it just it's all love? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially when you're doing the meet and greets and you're doing them one-on-one, aside from like the language barriers.
yeah,
and
because they
whatnot,
live
but, like,
so far away, and
Yeah.
for if I put myself in their situation, if I'm a fan and I've been a fan for 3 years, you kind of think like they're never gonna come to where I'm at. Let's say I live in Milan. It's like
Yeah.
Taylor's never gonna come to Milan.
Yeah.
And it's like that one chance you get, Taylor comes to Milan. You don't know when he's ever coming back. You don't know anything. And I think that would make me more crazed to meet him and make sure that I went wherever he was to get a chance to meet him. If I looked up to him and he helped me through like a lot of my problems, I feel like I would make it a point to go see him. And I feel like that would make me a little bit more intense than someone that lives in Cali, where they're like, oh, Cameron lives right down the street, and go just wait outside his
Yeah.
apartment and just meet him, you know?
Exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, look, unfortunately, I gotta let you go. But one more time, if you're a fan of Cameron, you've already watched the show. But I'm telling you right now, if you haven't, if you even consider watching, I'm telling you to watch it. It is a great show.
Thank you.
Chasing Cameron. It's on Netflix. It's streaming
appreciate
right now.